Have you ever felt like walking on eggshells around someone, constantly second-guessing yourself, or even wondering if you're losing your mind? If so, you might be caught in a narcissist's psychological trap. Narcissists are pros at manipulating others, and they use subtle but powerful tactics to control their victims. These mind games can leave you feeling confused, powerless, and questioning your worth. But don't worry, you're not alone. These traps can be spotted and avoided. Today, we'll break down some of the most common psychological tricks narcissists use, so you can recognize them and protect yourself from falling into their control. Are you ready for number 1? Denying reality. Narcissists tend to make you doubt your memory and sanity to control your mind. For example, you recall a hurtful argument, but they deny it ever happened or twist the story to blame you. According to therapist Stephanie Sarkis, this form of gaslighting aims to make you question yourself and rely on their version of events. Sometimes it's subtle, like saying, "You're being too sensitive," which can slowly erode your confidence. Over time, this constant rewriting of reality leaves you unsure of what's real and walking on eggshells. Patricia Evans, author of The Verbally Abusive Relationship, calls this a form of erasure that invalidates your experiences. To protect yourself, document events, trust your instincts, and seek support to stay grounded in your truth. Let's talk about number 2. Guilt tripping. Narcissists have a knack for making their victims feel responsible for their unhappiness. They may manipulate the situation by saying, "If you cared about me, you would have done this differently," subtly shifting blame onto you. This tactic not only creates confusion, but also erodes your sense of self-worth. Psychotherapist Susan Forward, in her book Emotional Blackmail, highlights how this behavior fosters a toxic dynamic where guilt becomes a tool for control. Over time, this relentless emotional manipulation makes you question your actions, boundaries, and even your right to assert your needs. It's like walking on eggshells, unsure what will set them off next. As the guilt deepens, it often leads to cycles of shame and self-blame. Brené Brown, a renowned academic and author, explains that when guilt is weaponized, it traps people in a pattern of negative self-perception, making them feel like they're never doing enough. Narcissists thrive on this power, constantly shifting responsibility for their happiness onto others, especially their victims. The truth, however, is that their happiness is never your responsibility, no matter how skillfully they try to convince you otherwise. Recognizing this is the first step toward reclaiming your boundaries and emotional well-being. Let's move on to number 3. Hot and cold behavior. Narcissists often create a confusing emotional roller coaster by alternating between kindness and cruelty. This back-and-forth behavior is a classic manipulation tactic that keeps their victims on edge. One moment, they may shower you with love, attention, and compliments, making you feel valued. The next, they can suddenly turn cold, distant, or even cruel, leaving you wondering what went wrong. This inconsistency can make knowing where you stand in the relationship complicated. You're constantly trying to figure out how to please them or avoid their wrath. As Adina Mahali, a master social worker, explains, narcissists play manipulative hot and cold games to keep their victims guessing and emotionally dependent. This push-and-pull dynamic can slowly chip away at your self-esteem and sense of self-worth, leaving you stuck in a cycle of emotional manipulation. Over time, this emotional whiplash takes a serious toll on your mental well-being. Now let's continue to number 4. Silent treatment. Instead of confronting the issue or expressing how they feel, narcissists refuse to speak or acknowledge the other person. It can be incredibly confusing and painful for the victim because it creates a sense of isolation. You're left wondering what you did wrong, which feeds into self-doubt and feeling invisible or unimportant. This tactic is often used to punish the victim or get them to comply with the narcissist's demands. It puts the victim in a constant state of waiting, wondering when or if the narcissist will finally speak to them again. The longer the silence, the more desperate the victim becomes for validation or reassurance. In this silence, the narcissist is saying, "I'm in control here, and you have to do what I want to get me to acknowledge you." It is a classic power play that can cause lasting emotional damage. You shouldn't miss number 5. Projection. Projection is a common tactic narcissists use to shift the blame for their negative behaviors onto you. Instead of taking responsibility for their actions, they accuse you of doing what they are guilty of. For example, if they're being manipulative or lying, they might accuse you of being dishonest or sneaky. This tactic messes with your head because it makes you question your actions and reality. It's like being handed a mirror where you're forced to see their flaws reflected in you, which can create confusion and self-doubt. As therapist Dr. Sherry Steins explains, projection is a way for the narcissist to avoid feeling bad about themselves and instead dump their negative feelings onto someone else. The tricky part is that the narcissist can be so convincing in their accusations that you might start believing them, even if it's completely untrue. You're left defending yourself while they get away with their behavior without being questioned. Over time, this tactic can erode your self-esteem as you constantly try to prove you're not the person they say you are. Are you still up for number 6? Feigning forgetfulness. Narcissists often pretend to forget things they've said or done, like meaningful conversations or promises they made. It leaves you in a situation where you're left wondering if you misremembered or overreacted. The narcissist might even act surprised when you bring up something important, subtly turning the tables to make you seem like you're the one with the problem. As therapist Dr. Sherry Campbell puts it, narcissists use forgetfulness as a way to avoid accountability for their actions, while making their victims question their sanity. This tactic creates doubt in your mind and can make you second-guess your perceptions and memories. It's like a constant cycle of trying to hold on to the truth while they distort it. Over time, you might feel you can't trust yourself or your experiences. Narcissists intentionally do this, using confusion to control the narrative. Dr. Carol McBride, in her book, Will I Ever Be Free of You, explains, feigning forgetfulness is a way for narcissists to manipulate their victims into thinking they are the ones at fault, eroding their confidence and making them more compliant. Ultimately, it leaves you questioning everything, which is what they want. Finally, we're down to number 7. Spying or stalking. Spying or stalking is a frightening tactic narcissists use to maintain control over their victims by monitoring their every move. They may track your phone, check your social media, or even follow you around without you knowing. This behavior is meant to make you feel paranoid and unsafe, creating a constant sense of dread about what they'll do next. It's a way for them to assert dominance and keep you on edge. As Dr. Ramani Durvasula explains, the narcissist needs to keep tabs on you to feel in control, using spying or stalking as a tool to manipulate your actions and emotions. The worst part is that this behavior can make you feel trapped, as if there's no way to escape their watchful eyes. Even when you're not doing anything wrong, they twist it into something that justifies their control. It creates a toxic environment where you feel like you're being constantly judged and monitored. Author and therapist Dr. Christina Hibbert explains, "The narcissist's spying can be an invasion of privacy meant to break down your autonomy, making you feel like you're always under their thumb. It's about instilling fear, not just to isolate you, but to maintain that psychological grip on your life. It leaves you uncertain and afraid to act freely." In conclusion, recognizing the psychological traps narcissists use is the first step in breaking free from their control. It's important to remember that you're not crazy, and you don't have to stay stuck in their web. Once you spot these tactics, you can start setting boundaries and protecting yourself. It might take time and a bit of courage, but you have the power to take back control of your life. Don't let anyone make you doubt your worth or manipulate your reality. You deserve respect, clarity, and peace of mind. Remember these traps. Stay strong, and remember you've got this.